My name's Luke Ashton and I'm a bartender. The drinks that I create are very much driven by seasonality and foraged ingredients, wild ingredients. For me, foraging is something that is very fulfilling in a very meaningful way. Being able to go out in nature and explore, it's almost like a little treasure hunt. You never know what you're going to find. One of the things that's most unique and dynamic about the hospitality industry is our ability to share information. We're not as competitive as what other industries are, and I think that there's a real beautiful relationship that we have between bars and between countries, and that willingness to share information to lift up our industry as a whole and create better experiences for our guests too. When I had the opportunity to work with the Blends of the Virtual World, I was really excited to be able to share a little bit of knowledge about foraging and getting into that mindset of things not always being in abundance and things having a scarcity. I think is a really important mindset to have when you're approaching the way that you create any drinks. I started my bartending career whilst I was still at university. I was really fortunate in those formative years of coming back to hospitality. I had a huge amount of exposure to very creative people, being able to ask them questions about how I can create certain ingredients from fresh ingredients was really vital for me in terms of shaping how I looked at cocktails and creating of flavors. Foraging obviously gave a really good insight into what was growing and being able to use those flavors and ingredients in a way that was unique and told a different story, not only about the season but also about Australian food culture and the first people of this country and how they had created such a legacy with the ingredients that nature provides as well. Getting to work alongside people that had much greater knowledge around foraged ingredients and what were wild ingredients and things that we could pick and use was definitely really important in terms of developing that mindset or the approach to creating cocktails. I think for me, one of the most impactful experiences was dining at Noma restaurant in 2013. The way that they were approaching their dishes and creating things from foraged ingredients was super exciting and was definitely a catalyst for reframing the way that I looked at drinks and how we could go about creating flavors and experiences for our guests as well. In 2019, when we decided to move from a menu that was reliant on produce from the markets and focused on what was growing wild around us, it made us much more aware of the seasonality of things and when things were growing, because if we wanted to create something that had a fresh ingredient in it, we would literally have to go out and find it in our local environment. For me, I'm a very visual person, also very much led by my nose. So I quite often find that when I'm eating or drinking different things that I'll find flavor combinations arrive in my brain that I hadn't thought of before. I think that the way that you see the colors blend together and the visual aspects of those also inspire different ways of thinking about cocktails. Sometimes I think about drinks not from a flavor perspective but from a color perspective and what colors my mind associates with those flavors. And thinking about how those colors would go together on a palette and then how those flavors might work in a glass. I'm super excited to be able to share with you a little bit of my knowledge about foraging, but also share with you a little bit of inspiration to go out, find out a little bit more about what's growing in your local environment and create some new drinks and some experiences for your guests.